Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, my black eye is diminishing. Have you ever had a black eye?
And Tony Kornheiser just once said the wrong thing to Vern Lundquist. Boom. Boom.
Yeah, I don't see Vern giving anybody a shiner, but maybe Vern's more aggressive than we know.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Maple Leafs win. Mike Trout is injured again. And Brian Windhorst joins us to talk about the futures of the Lakers and the Suns for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with the Philadelphia 76ers and Milwaukee Bucks staving off elimination last night. The Bucks beat Indiana badly, even without Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard, their 2 leading scorers. And the Sixers got 46 points from Tyrese Maxey, including 17 in the fourth quarter, and beat the Knicks in overtime in Madison Square Garden. Wilbon, are you focused on Maxey's heroics or on Tom Thibodeau's decision not to foul Maxey before he attempted the game-tying three-point shot?
Maxey's heroics, Tony. And I get Tom Thibodeau, we're going to get into that too. But look, coaches have different philosophies. And there are some coaches who say they will never foul in that situation. I'm persuaded after a conversation with a guy who played in the league a long time, Antonio Daniels, who does the color for New Orleans, among other things. And he said, remember now, you got to consider this differently as a defensive coach, even Tibbs. This shot is so makeable. It's not like they're making 8 threes in an NBA playoff game anymore. You got to make like 18 in a game. And guys shoot it from such depth, with such regularity and success, like we see Tyrese Maxey, that you have to foul. And I know our friend Charles Barkley believes the same thing, and I've been like in the middle, and now they're persuading me that Tibbs should have fouled. But Tony, and you set the guideline for this morning when I called you and said, Tony, this is one of the greatest games of all time I've ever seen. And you said, hold on, Sparky. One of the greatest performances I've ever seen. I'm going to give you credit because you got me, you moved me on that. He was great. Yeah. Tony, the shots he made, those were unmakeable. They weren't even takeable 20 years ago. And to do it multiple times and do it in the clutch like he did, I'm going to concentrate, yes, on Maxey.
Yeah, the last 2 threes that he made in regulation were spectacular. He got fouled on the first one, so he made a 4-point play. Look, the smart play, you're up 3. The smart play is to foul. I don't know whether Thibodeau didn't call it or somebody on the Knicks didn't execute it.
Unclear.
But the smart play is to foul there. But I don't want to take away from Maxey on any level because he was absolutely tremendous. And he's coming out of a game where he wasn't awesome at home. He was 8 for 21 in the previous game. And last night he was 17 for 30, which is great. The larger question is, how does this affect the series? I still think that the Knicks are going to win. They have already gone to Philadelphia and won one game. They clearly should have won last night. They're up 6 with 30 seconds to go. But Mike, to me, the greatest story to write out of last night is about Jalen Brunson. He was set to become a megastar. He had 47 on the road in the previous game, comes back with 40, and is totally eclipsed, by Tyrese Maxey. Plus, in the overtime, late in the overtime, he did not shoot well and he threw a bad pass. That, to me, is a story that you're right. It's about Tyrese Maxey becoming a star.
And, Tony, real quick on this. I know you were loath to let go of Curry and LeBron and Durant. I get it. But, Tony, Maxey and Brunson, among others, come on now. These guys are great. And even if they're not great every single night just yet, they're great enough where you look at them and say, wow, in this series, Embiid is playing not with bumps and bruises, with real ailments. He's diving on the floor to save a possession. It's a great series. I cannot wait to see Game 6.
Time to dig into the teams that Turner and ESPN wish were still in the NBA playoffs with our great friend ESPN NBA senior writer Brian Windhorst. Brian, Wilbon and I disagree about this, but you know LeBron better than both of us put together, so I'll ask, do you think he is most likely to end up back with the Lakers next year or somewhere else?
I think he is most likely to end up back with the Lakers. That said, he's spoken about this twice this week, once when he was asked at the end of the series against the Nuggets where he wouldn't answer the question. And then after that launched 1,000 ships yesterday with a lot of people speculating and talking about it, he tweeted and again did not basically did not profess that he's going to for sure be a Laker. So I will just say, when you are a free agent, which I expect him to be, I think he will opt out of his contract because I think it gives him some options with re-signing with the Lakers. But when you're a free agent, you're a free agent. I suspect he will look at all of his options and remain in L.A. I think he loves living in L.A. There's a lot going for him here. But I would never close the door on a free agent not accepting free agency. So a lot is going to happen in the NBA over the next 8 weeks. A lot is going to happen with his son and the draft process over the next 8 weeks. And he's in a unique position. And frankly, he's not been a free agent in 6 years. So I think he's going to take the opportunity to evaluate those options. And that's a very long-winded way of saying probably, but we'll see.
All right, as long as we're dealing with angst in the West, let's move over a little bit to Phoenix and look at their situation, having been swept out of the playoffs. Brian, I don't know that I see Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker on the same court sharing it next season, but do you?
I think the Suns would like to run it back. However, it is not going to be up to them. Kevin Durant has reached a point in his career where his future is basically determined by him. And so where he's at is going to be very important. One variable, and this applies to LeBron too, one variable is that this summer is an Olympic summer. Team USA is gathering, and this is the biggest gathering of star players on Team USA since the Beijing Olympics in 2008. We have never seen this collection of stars who have committed over the last basically decade and a half. On that team will be Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. They have committed to play in it. That could potentially be something that brings them together more, strengthens their bond. It could also open up other bonds. Typically, we see everything done in the NBA in terms of NBA business by about July 4th, July 5th. This year, the Olympics and Team USA are at the end of July and early August. So what I will say when it comes to the Suns and Kevin Durant and Booker and all those other players, let's see where everybody's mood is after the Olympic experience. Because you know that Team USA always opens up doors for big things to happen with star players. And so I would like to see that process play out. But the Suns, really their best option is to try to retrofit around them and try to get them to play better together. They can't trade Bradley Beal because he's got a no-trade clause. And if Durant, I don't think would bring back the same return they traded for him. So I think that they're best off trying to make it work.
Well, let's talk about coaches. As long as we're on those two franchises, because you know there's so much buzz in both markets about those coaches, Frank Vogel and Darvin Ham, not being with their teams in a matter of, hours. Brian, what do you think?
Well, at the end of that series with Denver, it seemed like both the Lakers players and Darvin himself thought this was coming to an end. The way they were talking, Anthony Davis absolutely, filleted Darvin after that 20-point blown lead in Game 2. I've never seen Anthony attack his coach like that, where he basically called him out, after the game. That was behavior that indicated that they thought there was a breakup coming. The last time the Lakers made a coaching change with Frank Vogel, they fired him in the locker room basically after their final game of the season when they were on the road, and they received heavy criticism for that. So I think if anything else, the Lakers want to take a little bit of time, but it wouldn't surprise me if they want to see how the coaching market plays out a little bit. If you fire a coach, especially your second coach in 3 years, or in the case of the Suns, second coach in 2 years, it doesn't bode well for candidates who want to come there. So part of me expects both coaches to be eventually let go, but it wouldn't surprise me if those teams take a little bit of time and see how the coaching market plays out before they fire a coach who they might not be able to replace with a better candidate.
I would get you out of here on this, and I'll start with the name of a coach who's totally safe, Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr wants all of those guys back with the Warriors. What do you think is going to happen there?
I think they will come back as long as Klay Thompson has a fair-minded understanding of where he wants, and as long as he doesn't want the last dollar. To get where they need to get salary-wise, what Joe Lacob has said, which is what he wants to get out of the tax, that Klay Thompson's got to take a $20 million-ish pay cut. I think that's reasonable, but I'm not Klay Thompson. So if he's willing to do that, I think there's a way to bring them back. And I know that they missed the playoffs, and I know that it was ultimately a disappointing season, but I still think that there were stretches of this last year where they played really good basketball. And they won you know, they had a winning record. This was not a team that was crying for a rebuild. So I think they try to bring it back with Steph and Draymond and Klay one more time. And we know that Steve Kerr feels that way because he extended his own contract. And let's see again how the summer plays out with Steph Curry and USA Basketball with Steve Kerr. You never know how things could play out after everybody gets to play with Steve Kerr for a summer.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.